Maayong adlaw sa kaninyong tanan, mga higala. Sa Tagalog po, ibig sabihin po noon, magandang araw po sa inyo mga kaibigan. Welcoming you once again to our Sunday online streaming dito po sa Bread of Life, GenSan. Binabati ko po kayo lahat, ang mga sumusubaybay sa atin all over the Philippines. And also would like to greet you, to welcome you, every one of you watching from the United States, in Canada, Australia, Middle East, Europe, and other parts of Asia. Muli po paalalahanan ko kayo na ilagay po ninyo kung saan po kayo nanonood, mula anong lugar po kayo nanonood. We would really appreciate so that we will know. Makita po namin, nakakagalak po ng puso kapag nanggagaling po sa iba-ibang lugar. And later on, follow and like again our Facebook page. And once again, I encourage you to share this message to some of your friends whom you think might be helped ng message na ito, no, as you have probably been helped Sunday after Sunday. And later on, you could also ask them to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that they can as well get back to our previous messages. And once again, for the past 2 Sundays, we have been appreciating you writing comments along the way during our broadcast. Write an amen or a few statements or an emoji para we can really know that we are able to engage. Parang nakikita ho namin nakakakonekta tayo sa isa't isa sa araw na ito. So muli po, ating pong matunghayan ang mensahe para sa bawat isa sa atin. Nawa na sa ating pagpapatuloy, makikita po natin anong relevance ito para sa ating buhay, para sa araw-araw na ating buhay. Allow me to start today by showing you a video clip created by William Hollis, entitled "Struggle Makes You Stronger." Let's watch.
Imagine if you got what you want every time. No struggle, no hard work, no challenges, no hard work required. Some of you are saying that would be great. You would be weak. And then when something hard comes up in your life, you wouldn't know how to handle it because you have never gone through anything that strengthens you. You cannot grow without struggle. You cannot develop strength without resistance, without challenging yourself, without struggle. Pain is your friend. Maybe not in the moment, but for the evolution of your soul, for the long-term benefit of you as a stronger human being, pain is your friend. If you didn't have failures, if you didn't have struggles, if you didn't have disappointment, you could have no strength, no courage, no compassion. How could you? Those qualities are made from your pain and struggle. You are given pain because you are strong enough to handle it. You are given this life because you are strong enough to live it. Because you are strong enough to drive through it, to thrive through it, to inspire others through it. They will look to you and say, he did it, she did it, I have the strength to do it too. You are stronger than you think. You survived all your challenges to this point, and you will survive whatever is coming. But next time a struggle comes, I don't want you to curse the skies. Know that it was sent for a reason and a lesson. It might be to make you stronger. It might be to teach you patience. It might be for you to show others your spirit. There is a reason. So don't you give up. You have a purpose in this world, and you will only find it if you keep going and keep growing.
Your struggle is a part of your story. Your struggle made you the person you are today.
Your struggle is your life. Your struggle is your gift. See, many people look at struggle like it's a bad thing. Your struggle will be the gift that the world falls in love with. Nobody wants to hear the story of the man that was given everything. People want to hear the stories of men and women that endured pain and turned their struggles into a gift. Do you want people just to feel sorry for you? Or you want people to look up to you? Do you want to be a legend? Because legends are born in the belly of struggle. Fear is only a fictional movie, but reality is the struggle. Reality is the struggle. So take the struggle and change your reality. Because the whole time you were thinking that your struggle was holding you back, it was really giving you the tools to become one of the greatest. No more second guessing. No more blaming others for the problems you have in your life. It's a new day. This is my one-way ticket to my dreams. Your struggle is your gift.
Napansin niyo ho, ano, sa kanyang concept, more or less, sinasabi niya, struggles, challenges, and hard times offer you much more value than any other time in your life. Kumbaga, yung mga struggle, yung mas maganda pa yung kaysa sa mga ibang panahon sa ating buhay. Because you cannot grow without struggle. You cannot get stronger without resistance. And think about the time in your life that you have been hard, di ba? Nahirapan ka sa iyong buhay at mapansin mo na iyon yung panahon na nakapagbigay ng talagang kabutihan sa iyong buhay, ano. And so you're grateful dahil napuwersa ka maging maayos sa mga struggles na to, yung mga pain na yung dinaanan sa buhay, nakatulong sa iyo. Sabi nga ni Booker T. Washington, an American educator, author, no, he said, I have learned that success is to be measured not so much by the position that one has reached in life as by the obstacles which he has had to overcome while trying to succeed. Ganda ng pananaw niya dahil siya rin being a colored person, na dami niyang struggle, dami niyang dinaanan, dami niyang pahirap na dinaanan sa buhay, kaya doon niya nakita yung success, hindi dahil may position ka lang, kundi along the way mga obstacles na yung dinaanan na na-overcome mo, kaya ka umabot doon sa antas sa posisyon na yon ng iyong buhay. Kaya napakagandang makita natin yon. Kaya tayo po ay nagpapatuloy sa ating pag-aaral on obstacle becomes the way. It's today is our third Sunday of handling this topic based on the book by Ryan Holiday entitled The Obstacle is the Way. Entitled ko lang na Obstacle Becomes the Way. Frank A. Clark, an American lawyer and politician long time ago, said, if you find a path with no obstacles, it probably doesn't lead anywhere. Galing, grabe mga wisdom ng mga tao na ito. Kung meron kang makitang daanan na walang hirap yan, walang patutunguhan yan. Because as Booker T. Washington said, or wrote, sinasabi niya na measure ng success yung obstacles na dinaanan mo sa iyong buhay. Kaya napakaganda na kung walang obstacle yan, ay walang hindi magandang path yan. Walang patutunguhan yan kumaga sa iyong buhay. So we've been looking at the strategies for a right perception. Nakita natin ang obstacle becoming a way, tatlong bagay: perception, action, and the will. And we're looking at perception. Last Sunday we tackled 3 strategies called the recognize your power, inherent power, meron kang kalakasan sa loob, steady your nerves, yung hindi ka matinag, steady ka lang, maayos ka lang, and alter your perspective to life. Pagka nagagawa natin yon, yung perception natin matatama, makikita natin, tama ang kung saan location ang ating pananaw sa ating buhay, sigurado, magkakaroon tayo ng success in the midst of the obstacles. Let's look at the fourth. The fourth is focus on what you can change. At sa perception, sa pag-handle ng problema, hindi mo naman lahat mabago ka agad eh. So, unahin mo yung kaya mo. May kapasidad ka. May kakayanan kang baguhin. Sabi nga ni Epictetus, a German-speaking Stoic philosopher, in life, our first job is this, to divide and distinguish things into two categories. Una, externals I cannot control, but the choices I make with regard to them, I do control. No? Where will I find good and bad? In me, in my choices. Kailangan ma-distinguish natin yung bagay na, yung lugar, externals na wala akong kakayanan, wala akong control. Pero meron akong control sa mga choices na pwede kong gawin sa mga situations na nangyayari sa aking buhay. Ano ang pinipili kong reaksyon para diyan? Ryan Holiday wrote dun sa libro, Tommy John, giving an example. Tommy John, one of baseball's most savvy and durable pitchers, played 26 seasons in the Major League Baseball. 26 seasons, grabe. It's almost superhuman accomplishment, sinulat niya. But he was able to do it because he got really good at asking himself and others in various forms one question over and over again, or a few questions. Tinatanong niya sarili niya at ang ibang tao, is there a chance? Do I have a shot? Is there something I can do? Yun ang mga tanong na tinatanong niya sa sarili niya, sa ibang tao, o sa kanyang sitwasyon. All he ever looked for was a yes, no matter how slight or tentative or provisional the chance. If there was a chance, he was ready to take it and make good use of it. Kahit maliit na chance lang. Ready to give every ounce of effort and energy he had to make it happen. If effort would affect the outcome, he would die on the field because he let the chance go to waste. Kumbaga, grabe yung kanyang pananaw. Kung maapektuhan ng outcome, gagawin niya. Susubukan niya. And the first time came during the middle of the 1974 season when Tommy John blew out his arm, permanently damaging the ulnar collateral ligament in his pitching elbow. Yung more or less parang ito pong portion yan dito. Yung ulnar collateral ligament. So, kumbaga napunit na damage po yan. Up until this point in baseball and sports medicine, when a pitcher blew his arm, that was it. Kumbaga, they called it dead arm or dead arm injury, game over. Tapos ka na. Pagka na-injury yung pitcher, kasi ito, for example, kana ka, pinang-pitch mo, na-injure ka dito, wala, parang tapos ka na. Tapos ka na sa iyong laro. John wouldn't accept that. Was there anything that could give him a shot to get back on the mound? It turns out there was. The doctor suggested an experimental surgery in which they would try to replace the ligament in his pitching elbow with the tendon from his other arm. Kukuha dito, ililipat dito. What are the chances of me coming back after this? Tinanong niya. 1 in 100. And without it, no chance, they said. Kumbaga 99% pwede mag-fail. 1% lang, kumbaga 1 in 100 He could have retired, but there was 1 in 100 chance. With rehab and training, the opportunity was partially in his control. He took it and won 164 more games over the next 13 seasons. That procedure is now famously known as Tommy John surgery. Tinawag na in honor of him. Less than 10 years later, John mastered the same spirit and effort he marshaled for his elbow surgery when his young son fell horrifyingly from a third-story window, swallowed his tongue, and nearly died. No? Even in the chaos of the emergency room, with doctors convinced that the boy probably wouldn't survive, John reminded his family that whether it took 1 year or 10 years, they wouldn't give up until there was absolutely nothing left that they could do. His son made a full recovery. Grabe yung ano nito, yung reaction niya sa mga challenges sa kanyang buhay. For John, his baseball career seemed to finally come to an end in 1988 when at the age of 45, he was cut by the Yankees at the end of the season. Tinanggal na siya. Medyo may edad na eh. He still would not accept it. He called the coach and demanded if he showed up at a spring training as a walk-on the next spring, would he get a fair look? Oh, meron ba siyang pag-asa o titignan, baka sakali tignan pa siya? No? They replied that he shouldn't be playing baseball at his age. He repeated the question, be straight with me. If I come down there, would I have a chance? Kung a-attend ako, pupunta ako sa spring training, may pag-asa ba ako doon? May chance ba ako? The baseball officials answered, fine, yes. You'll get one look. Sige, baka sakali, tignan ka namin. So Tommy John was the first to report to camp. He trained many hours a day, brought every lesson he'd learned playing the sport for a quarter century, and made the team as the oldest player in the game. He started the season opener and won. Grabe. Pagkasulat ni Ryan Holiday, the things that Tommy John could change when he had a chance, got a full 100% of the effort he could master, or yung mai-assemble niya, maipagsama-sama niya na kanyang effort. He used to tell coaches that he would die on the field before he quit. He understood that as a professional athlete, his job was to analyze parts ang pagkasulat ni Ryan, or analyze the difference between the unlikely and the impossible. Seeing that minuscule or tiny distinction was what made him who he was. Grabe, yung maliit, minute na pag-asa o tsansa, tinitake niya. And that's what made him who he was. He was a successful player. I like us to watch a video clip by Simon Sinek. He was sharing to a group of professionals probably, and he was sharing kumbaga the concept of how to adapt to changing times. Paano ka mag-change? Paano ka mag-adjust? Pagpabago-bago, nagbabago-bago ang panahon. Let's watch.
I think this profession is going, you have the great advantage that there are other professions that have gone through this before you, and you can see what they've done in right and wrong. And you can see other industries as well, how they've screwed it up. So for example, and it's because they waited for the change to happen, as opposed to grabbing the bull by the horns, right?
It's just one S, no big deal.
Right. And so for example, why is it that Netflix invented Netflix and not the movie and television industry? It's because the movie and television industry were protecting their old business model and literally ignorant of the fact that the world was changing around them. The Netflix had this new subscription model, and it was a small company. Blockbuster, which was the 800-pound gorilla, you remember when we used to get DVDs in the mail? So they knew streaming was coming. They just didn't. It just wasn't there yet. And so the CEO of Blockbuster went to the board and said, "I think we should explore subscription, because this little thing called Netflix is onto something that's gonna happen when the technology gets better." And the board wouldn't let him change the business model to subscription because they made 12% of their revenues from late fees. And look what happened. Blockbuster does not exist, except for one store in northern Canada. and Netflix is the dominant force in television and movies. Why is it that a computer company invented iTunes and not the music industry? It's because they saw the change coming, and the music industry was still trying to protect selling albums in stores, because they saw their customer as Tower Records and HMV, whereas iTunes, Apple, saw the customer as the person who actually buys and listens to the music. Why is it that Amazon invented Amazon and the e-reader, and publishing industry did not even invent the Kindle? Like, it's because they're too busy protecting the old business model. So I think if you go down this route of protectionism, of protecting what we have and staving off change, you are signing your own death warrant. And if it's not your death warrant, your business is going to become way more difficult, and another firm or another that may be completely outside your profession. Remember, iTunes, Netflix, all of these were companies completely outside their own industry. In other words, they couldn't even figure out which one of you it's going to be, because it won't be any of you. It might be a software company that'll completely eviscerate your profession. And so I think to be the one that says, okay, it won't be the way it was. We can't defend the way it was, and we're going to have to imagine, what if we were to invent our industry now, knowing nothing? What would we do? And again, this goes back to the question of why. Well, why did you get into the industry in the first place? Did you get into this profession because your parents told you to and you can make a good living? You're not going to be the innovator. You know? Did you get in this industry because you love math? You know? You're not going to be the innovator. Did you get into this industry, and do you love this industry when you really get to help people re-understand and reimagine how to build an organization? Because when you can understand the language of mathematics, when you can understand the language of a balance sheet, as clearly as you can understand the language of cultural change, it's kind of like that, right? It's the rational and the emotional. And we said it before, which is the numbers are only half a picture of the health of the business. And if you got in this industry to be of service to human beings who are trying to do bigger things for themselves, for their families, for society, for their customers, you might be onto something. So the question is, what value do you offer to the people who buy your product? Now, how would you do that in this new changing day and age? And literally ignore whatever was, because it's irrelevant, because it may or may not survive. The industry, the profession will do fine if you're the ones willing to blow up your own business. But if you're going to protect your business, it'll get blown up for you.
Kakaibang pananaw, no? Iba itong si Simon Sinek, no? Kumbaga sa kanya, sinasabi niya, the business have waited for change to happen instead of grabbing like the bull by the horns. Kaya, kumbaga sinasabi niya, bakit itong mga Netflix, ang iTunes, ang Amazon? Kumbaga, ang Netflix hindi naman siya isang production company. Ang iTunes hindi naman siya music company, IT company. Amazon, di ba? Bakit sila umangat? Because they saw change coming and adjusted. But while others we're protecting the old business model. Kaya, you want to, this changing situation natin, be able to grab the chance. Kaya, kung sinasabi niya, kung concept niya, either you have to be willing to blow up or your own business, or someone else will blow it up for you. No? Either ikaw sisira o iba sisira. Dahil mayroong mag-a-adjust, merong grupo na they would take a chance sa situation na to. No, kaya hindi mo pwedeng pagawakan eh. No, kumbaga kaya ang kanya, at maganda na gusto ko rin na concept sinabi niya kanina, if you got into this industry to be of service to human beings who are trying to do bigger things for themselves, for their families, for society, to their customers, you might be onto something. Bakit ka ba pumasok sa business? Bakit ka ba nandyan sa industry na yan? Bakit ka ba nandyan sa career na yan? Anong ginagawa mo dyan? Anong rason mo? Kung bakit ka nandyan dyan? What value do you offer to the people who buy your product? How would you do that in this new changing day and age, and literally ignore whatever was because it's irrelevant, because it may or may not survive? Grabe yung pananaw ni Simon Sinek. So, sa changing times, sa mga obstacles na mangyayari, no, tinuturuan niya. He's an optimist, who believes in the bright future, no, and our ability to build it together. Kaya magaling ito, visionary thinker ang tawag dito kay Simon Sinek. No? Let's look at scripture. Somehow, parang the fact of chances in life. In Ezra chapter 1 verses 1 to 5, he prophesied, now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, he shared rather, not really a prophecy, he wrote, in order to fulfill the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah, the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, so that he sent a proclamation throughout all his kingdom, and also put it in writing, saying, thus says Cyrus, king of Persia, the Lord, the God of heaven, has given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he has appointed me to build him a house in Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Whoever there is among you of all his people, may his God be with him. Let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and rebuild the house of the Lord, the God of Israel. Notice, hindi naman ito Christian, hindi naman ito mananampalataya, o hindi naman ito Israelite, na kaya nga ito'y conqueror, isang hari na kasi na export, na deport, kumbaga na exile ang mga Israelites, ang mga Hebrews during that time. So, kinaugnay ng Lord itong si Cyrus para gamitin niya para i-rebuild ang temple. And it was during the time of Ezra, the scribe, So, jumping na lang to verse 5, then the heads of fathers' households of Judah and Benjamin and the priests and the Levites arose, even everyone whose spirit God had stirred to go up and rebuild the house of the Lord, which is in Jerusalem. And the concept I'm seeing in that scripture is that God gives us so many chances in our lives. Nasa exile sila pero binigyan sila ng Panginoon na ibabalik sila sa kanilang lugar para mabigyan sila ng pagkakataon na i-rebuild yung templo. For 70 years, it was destroyed. Nakatiwangwang na yung lugar nila. Nauna si Nehemiah, binild yung wall. Susunod ditong si Ezra. Si Ezra ang nangunguna. And so, mga tao, challenge, sinong gustong pumunta? God is giving you a chance. Ito may obstacle, hindi maging madali. Mabiyahe sila ng malayo, delikadong kanilang dadaanan, hindi madali mag-build, kumbaga, pero are you willing to take the chance? Are you willing to take the chance in this pandemic? Na hindi ka matakot sa sitwasyon ngayon na dinadaanan, willing to take a chance. Serendipity prayer or serenity prayer ang tawag ng iba. Look at this statement. It's just a prayer which reads, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. May mga bagay na hindi ko kayang baguhin, Panginoon. May mga bagay na kaya kong baguhin. Bigyan mo ko ng karunungan, Panginoon, na malaman ko anong babaguhin at hindi ko babaguhin. Because the Bible speaks so much about chances. The Bible speaks so much about changes in life that will even affect an effect in our life. For example, in Proverbs 14 verse 12, when we look at choices, it reads, there is a way that appears to be right, but in the end, it leads to death. Merong mga daan na akala mo maganda, pero sa kadulungan pala, kamatayan. Kaya, maging maingat sa choices, maging maingat sa bumubukas kumbaga sa atin. Pero, wag ka naman maging matali na hindi ka gagalaw. Okay na, siyempre, pumipili ka, nag-iingat ka, pero you need to make a choice. You need to move on. Deuteronomy chapter 30 verses 19 and 20 more or less shares about choices in life. This day, I call the heavens and the earth as witnesses against you that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. That's what Moses wrote. Now choose life so that you and your children may live, and that you may love the Lord your God, listen to his voice, and hold fast to him, for the Lord is your life, and he will give you many years in the land his word to give to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So Moses was telling these people na God is giving you a chance, a choice. Pinapapili kayo ng Panginoon. Piliin nyo ang tama, piliin nyo ang buhay, piliin nyo ang Panginoon. No? Wayne Dyer, an American philosopher and motivational speaker, wrote, with everything that has happened to you, you can either feel sorry for yourself or treat what has happened as a gift. Everything is either an opportunity to grow or an obstacle to keep you from growing. You get to choose. Tayo ang pumipili. Ikaw, ako, pumipili sa sitwasyon na nangyayari sa buhay natin. We'll treat it as a gift. Kaloob ito. Itong obstacle na to, kaloob ba ito sa akin? No? Itong sitwasyon na to, kaloob ito eh. Kasi an opportunity for me to grow. Or will I treat it as either feeling sorry for myself? No? Kumbaga, awa ka na lang sa sarili mo dahil kawawa ka naman, ito nangyari sa iyo. Ryan Holiday continues in the book, to harness the same power, recovering addicts learn this, how they focus their efforts. It's a lot easier to fight addiction when you aren't also fighting the fact that you were bored, that your parents were monsters, or that you lost everything. Di ba? Parang madali siya mawala addiction, kaya ang dami pong problema sabay-sabay eh. 0 in 100 chances that you can change it. Parang kumbaga, kung mapananaw ay wala, hindi ko kaya mabago to. Yun ang sitwasyon ko sa buhay ko eh. So what if you focus on what you can change? That's where you can make a difference. Bakit hindi mo isipin yung, focus mo yung, ano ba yung pwede ko mabago kahit papano? Kahit maikli lang. Kahit paliit-liit lang. Incremental changes. What is up to us? What is not up to us? No? What is up to us? Ano yung ikaw yun, ako yun, napipili kumbaga mabago, mapalitan, or makagawa ng paraan. No? What is up to me is, and you is our emotions, our judgments, our creativity, our attitude, our perspective, our desires, our decisions, our determination. Sabi sulat ni Ryan Holiday, this is our playing field. So to speak, everything there is fair game. Fair game yan dahil ikaw ang pumipili. And what is not up to us? Well, everything else. The weather, the economy, circumstances, other people's emotions, or judgments, trends, disasters, etc. May mga bagay na hindi mo kaya makontrol, may mga bagay kaya mo kontrol. No? If what's up to us is the playing field, then what is not up to us are the rules and conditions of the game. Factors that winning athletes make the best of and don't spend time arguing against because there is no point. No, kaya yung hindi nila ma-argue ito yung rules eh. Ito yung conditions ng laro eh. Pero mayroong mga bagay na pwede niyang mapalitan, maayos. Continuing, let us look at this, to argue, sinulat ni Ryan, to complain, or worse, to just give up, these are choices. Choices that more often than not do nothing to get us across the finish line. When it comes to perception, this is the crucial distinction to make, the difference between the things that are in our power and the things that aren't. That's the difference between the people who can accomplish great things and the people who find it impossible to stay sober to avoid not just drugs or alcohol, but all addictions. Ito ang crucial distinction. Yung difference ito na may kapangyarihan tayo to make choices in life. Merong mga bagay we can control, may mga bagay hindi natin kayang i-control. So, ang ganda distinction. But we have to make a decision. In its own way, the most harmful dragon we chase is the one that makes us think we can change things that are simply not ours to change. Para bang may mga bagay na hindi mo kaya baguhin. Asawa mo kaya hindi mo kaya baguhin. Anak mo. Sarili natin, may chance tayo dahil tayo nagdidesisyon. Siyempre, kailangan natin ng tulong ng Diyos. On our own, we cannot change. On our own, talagang hindi naman natin kayang completely mabago sarili natin. Pero, di ba, at least sa sarili natin, may chance pa tayo. Sa iba, wala kang control eh. Kasi nagdidesisyon ng tao on his own, on her own. So, may mga bagay na hands off ka dun eh. Kaya ka napapraning, natataranta dahil you try to change circumstances na wala kang kakayahan mabago. That someone decided not to fund your company. This isn't up to you. But the decision to refine and improve your pitch, that is. That someone stole your idea and got to it first? No. To pivot, improve it, or fight for what's yours? Yes. Focusing exclusively on what is in our power magnifies and enhances our power. But every ounce of energy directed at things we cannot actually influence is wasted, self-indulgent, and self-destructive. To see an obstacle as a challenge, to make the best of it anyway, that is also a choice that is up to us. It's up to you. It's up to me. Merong mga bagay, it's up to you, it's up to me. Tayo ang magbabago. Kung hindi tayo mag-a-adjust, masisira tayo. What's an example? In the field of technology, in the field of the cellphones, di ba? Ang bibilis ng mga pagbabago ng mga cellphones, bagong model, and so on and so forth. One of the well-known brands in the past is Nokia. And so let's watch a video clip about the truth behind Nokia's downfall.
The multinational corporation Nokia was established in Finland in 1865. Once upon a time, Nokia was the biggest mobile company in the world. But now it's almost nowhere. So what happened? What was the reason behind Nokia's downfall? To understand this, first, we must know how Nokia became such a huge and famous brand. Nokia bought a telephonic company named Mobara. At first, they made a telephone handset device. Nokia introduced its first car phone in 1982. It was known as the Nokia Mobara Senator. It weighed a massive 10 kilograms. In 1984 they made Nokia Mobara Talkman. It was said to be the first transportable phone. It could be used in and out of the car. It weighed 5 kilograms. In 1987 Nokia shocked the whole world with Nokia Mobara City Man. A phone which was lighter than the previous ones. And you could use it anywhere. It weighed 800 grams only. The Mobara Cityman was a huge hit. Nokia became world famous with this product. Harry Hokeri was the Prime Minister of Finland in 1991. He made the first ever GSM call in history through a Nokia mobile. In 1992, they made the Nokia 1011. The mobile was a huge hit throughout Europe and the US. Their best-selling phones of 2100 series were launched in 1994. The first feature phone. Nokia expected to sell 1 million units of the phone. But they sold 20 million instead. Nokia crossed its expectations. But Nokia had done a big mistake. They misjudged the market. In 1990, Nokia had predicted that there would be 40 million mobile users worldwide by 1999. But they were wrong. There were 250 million mobile users in 1999 instead. But still, Nokia managed to beat Motorola and became the most dominating company in the mobile market. Nokia captured almost 25% of the global market. All the models created by Nokia topped the sales chart. Nokia kept innovating their designs and features. From 2003 to 2005, Nokia 1100 and Nokia 1110 was Nokia's best-selling mobile. Soon Nokia captured 70% market share in Asia. But Nokia failed in one thing. That was adapting to the progress of the market. By the end of 2010s, iOS and Android was introduced in US and European markets. And in China, local mobiles were created on huge numbers. In Asia and Middle East countries, Samsung and Motorola came with cheaper and better mobiles. Remember the flip phones? The Moto Razr. By 2010, most of the mobile companies opted for Android. But Nokia was stuck with Symbian. With the birth of Google and Apple, Nokia found it hard to compete in the market. Nokia kept focusing on hardware, where the world moved on to focus on software. Stephen Elop became the new CEO of Nokia. He tried to reconcile the mistakes. He tried to change things for Nokia. He tried to bounce back but chose the wrong option again. They were going to opt for Android. But instead, they chose Windows. It was the last nail in the coffin for Nokia. Nokia tried to be unique with the Windows operating system. But what they didn't realize was that Windows operating system was still not compatible with mobiles in the best way. Where there were millions of apps in Android and iOS, Nokia was stuck with Windows which had no ecosystem. This is how Nokia, once the giants of a mobile company, failed miserably in the market.
Ano sinasabi ng video? Diba? Nokia misjudged the market. Hindi sila nag-adjust. And so they missed the chance. And they also made wrong choices. No, hindi nila nakita yung 'di ba Android, iOS na yung ginagamit. Hindi sila tumingin. Hindi mali ang mga decision nila. Michael Jordan, no need to introduce him, we know him. He said, if you're trying to achieve, there will be roadblocks. I've had them. Everybody has had them. But obstacles don't have to stop you. If you run into a wall, don't turn around and give up. Figure out how to climb it and go through it or work around it. Lahat tayo may obstacles na dadaanan. Lahat tayo may mga wall na nasa harapan natin. Ano ba? Turn around ka lang? Ay, hindi kaya. No? But the person who would take a chance, it's up to him to make a decision and a choice in life. Hindi, dadaanan ko ito. Makakagawa ko ng paraan kahit papano na merong solusyon yung obstacle na yan. Yung trial, yung problema na yan. So, that's the first. Focus on what you can change. No? Wag mo iyakan yung mga bagay, hindi mo naman kaya mabago. No? Move on. Hanapin mo, check mo. But there's the fifth, no, that we're gonna look at. Live in the present moment. No? Charles Polenic says, the trick to forgetting the big picture is to look at everything close up. Pagka nilapit mo kung gusto mo hindi makita lahat, ilapit mo, makikita mo. Ryan Holiday wrote. And I'd like to show this na list na, kumbaga, list of businesses that started during depression or economic crisis. Makita nyo po sa listahan niya sa ating slide. Ano yung mga businesses na to? Fortune Magazine, 90 days nag-start ito after the market crash of 1929. FedEx, during the oil crisis of 1973. UPS, during a panic of 1907. Walt Disney Company, after 11 months of smooth operation, the 12th was the market crash of 1929. Hewlett-Packard, Great Depression 1935. Charles Schwab, market crash of 1974-75. Standard Oil, Rockefeller bought out his partners in what became Standard Oil and took over in February 1865, the final year of the Civil War. Coors, that's a beer, I think, Depression of 1873. Costco, parang department store na a recession in the late 1970s. Revlon, Great Depression 1932. General Motors, panic of 1907. Procter & Gamble, panic of 1837. United Airlines, panic of 1929. Microsoft, recession in 1973 to 1975. LinkedIn, 2002, post.com bubble. Grabe, no? Ito mga naging tanyag na hanggang ngayon na nagpapatuloy ng mga kumpanya nanimula during depression or economic crisis. No? Kaya, bakit daw? Sinulat ni Ryan, for the most part, these businesses had little awareness they were in some historically significant depression. Why? Because the founders were too busy existing in the present, actually dealing with the situation at hand. They didn't know whether it would get better or worse. They just knew what was. They had a job they wanted to do, a great idea they believed in, or a product they thought they could sell. They knew they had a payroll to meet. Tinignan nila yung actual na situation on hand. And nag-decide sila in the midst na itong sitwasyon na to, dahil yun time na nagsimula sila, sige lang, tuloy lang nila. Which is what happened probably to some businesses. No? Mag-start ka na ng business, bigla ng COVID-19. Hindi ka nakasimula. Especially mga restaurant. No? Biglang walang pumupunta. No? Quarantine eh. So, anong gagawin mo? Kawawa naman. Nasayang lahat ang kapital. Hindi. Pwede ka makaisip. Look at the present. Itong sinulat ni Ryan Holiday, yet in our own lives, we aren't content to deal with things as they happen. We have to dive endlessly into what everything means. Whether something is fair or not, what's behind this or that, and what's everyone else is doing. Para bang sinasabi niya, di ba, minsan gusto natin malaman, ano ba ibig sabihin talaga natin ito? Hindi fair. Ano bang behind this? Bakit nangyari lahat? Hindi mo na kailangan masagot lahat eh. No? At minsan wala lahat kaagad-agad na sagot. Then we wonder, sulat ni Ryan, why we don't have the energy to actually deal with our problems. Or we get ourselves so worked up and intimidated because of the overthinking that if we would just gotten to work, we'd probably be done already. Minsan overthinking eh. Sobrang pag-iisip eh. Notice pagka sobrang nag-iisip ka, nawawalan ka ng sobrang pinag-iisipan mo lahat eh. Kailangan mong pag-isipan. Pero pag overthinking, hindi mo lahat masusolusyonan eh. We need to challenge our thoughts. We need to keep the focus dun sa paano mo ma-solve ang problema. And so on and so forth. Matthew 6:34. Itong sinabi ni Lord, sinulat ni Matthew, therefore do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. Pag na-over-anxious, masyadong overthinking, maparanoid ka, na praning na tayo sa lahat sa sitwasyon na nangyayari, hindi na tuloy really talaga tayo makapag-isip ng tama. matataranta na tayo sa nangyayari, sa obstacle na yan. So, sometimes, of course, we need to look at it, think about it, pero wag overthinking. No? Makakasama sa atin. A video clip I'd like to show you is about the teacher sa isang martial arts school, kumbaga. Tinitry niyang, yung master, tinitry niya yung kanyang estudyante kung paano iilagan, no, pagka mayroong isang item na ipapalo sa kanya.
Move, you gotta be moving haste, move quickly.
Look at me. You can still see this, right?
Hands up.
Deal with your anxiety.
Punch it down.
No.
Good.
Relax. Nothing has happened yet, son.
Which
Breathe.
leg he got back?
If you respond on a what if, you will get in
You
trouble.
got it, just like that. That's
You
how
have
you
to
want to
wait
be.
some
All
time
right?
before you
Y'all
make that
get
decision.
Yeah.
If you move too soon, move now, move just like you did, I'll abort and just hit you in your head. Stand back up. Move when you think you should move on this weapon. Do you understand? All right, let's go.
Good. Shine. Set up. Shallows. Good.
All right, let's step it up. Back up, quick. There you go. Back up. Yes. Big difference. You got it? It's not this. It's me. I'm the problem. Keep your eyes focused on the problem, not the distraction.
Magaling yung teacher, gabi. Oh, ang sinasabi niya, focus on the problem, not the distraction. No? Ginamit lang nung master yung sport, pero tinuturo niya buhay. Kung sinasabi niya, deal with your anxiety. If you respond on what if, you'll get into trouble. What if ganito? Hindi. Huwag mong tignan yung distraction. Sabi, itong stick na to, yung hawak niya, distraction. Ako ang problema. Ako tignan mo. No? Pag tinitignan mo ako, magiging conscious ka rin doon sa ano yung threat na yan. No? Never let the appearance of a threat threaten you. Sabi niya, keep your eyes focused on the problem, not on the destruction. Continuing, Ryan Holiday wrote, the point is that most people start from disadvantage, often with no idea they're doing so, and do just fine. It's not unfair. It's universal. Those who survive it, survive because they took things day by day. And that's the real secret. Focus on the moment, not the monsters that may or may not be up ahead. No? Baka, may monster ba doon sa harap? Hindi, sige lang, lakad ka lang. Hindi mo alam kung meron o wala. No? A business must take the operating constraints of the world around it as a given and work for whatever gains are possible. Kaya, magpapatuloy. Our problem, sabi niya, is that we're always trying to figure out things, what things mean, why things are the way they are, as though the why matters. No? Sabi nga daw ni Emerson, no? Why we cannot spend the day in explanation. Don't waste time on false constructs. No? Minsan, nauubos na yung oras natin. Bakit nangyari ito? Finding out, bakit nangyari? What happened? Anong ibig sabihin nito lahat? Hindi tayo nabubuhay sa explanation. Ang isang mananampalataya, nabubuhay sa pananampalataya sa Diyos. Hindi mo exactly alam, mapipigure out lahat eh. Kaya nga sinulat ni James, sa chapter 4 verses 13 and 14, come now, you who say, today or tomorrow we will travel to such and such a city and spend a year there and do business and make a profit. You don't even know what tomorrow will bring, what your life will be. For you are like smoke that appears for a little while, then vanishes. Wag kang mayabang na. Ayusin ko lahat. Klaro. Planchado ko na lahat. Hindi mo maiisip lahat eh. Hindi mo mapaplansya lahat. Merong lukot. Kumbaga, merong situation na mag-rise up na hindi mo akalain, na hindi mo na-anticipate. And there are so many things in life that we cannot anticipate. That's why the walk with God is a walk of faith. It's a walk of trust. Lord, I don't know what tomorrow will be, but I know who holds tomorrow. And oh God, I can rest. I can rest my life, my mind, my heart to you. So yun po ang magagawa eh. No, tayo, a Christian does not walk by explanation. A Christian walks by faith. Well, Ryan Holiday continued, it doesn't matter, look at this, whether this is the worst time to be alive or the best. Whether you are in a good job market or a bad one, or that the obstacle you face is intimidating or burdensome, what matters is that right now is right now. Yung tawag nga, kasi yung iba, di ba, the good old days, buti pa noong araw, ngayon. Buti pa noon ganito, ngayon ganito. Buti pa noon, karon, iba na. Di ba? Naalala natin the good old days. And the good old days, di ba, na yung good old days na wala ka rin naman doon. Good old days na Yung good old days ng iba, ganun din Yung situation nila, parang, kumbaga, the good old days din sila ng good old days So, kumbaga, hindi mo akalain ang ganyan mangyayari. Worst time ba to? For the best. Kaya sabi nga, di ba, Charles Dickens, it is the best of times. It is the worst of times. We live in the moment, and the more we embrace that, the easier the obstacle will be to face and move. You can take the trouble you're dealing with and use it as an opportunity to focus on the present moment, to ignore the totality of your situation, and learn to be content with what happens as it happens. Kaya, remember, continuing, that this moment is not your life. It's just a moment in your life. Itong sitwasyon na to, hindi lang itong buhay mo. Bahagi lang ito. It's just a moment. Marami ka ng past moments at meron ka pa naman mga future moments. Focus on what is in front of you right now. Ignore what it represents or what it means or why it happened to you. There's plenty else going on right here to care about any of that. Kaya nga, di ba, do not be anxious of tomorrow. Ang ngayon, meron ng enough trouble sa ngayon Huwag mo nang alalahanin yung bukas, huwag mo na idagdag yung alalahanin bukas sa ngayon. Ngayon pa lang mismo, may alalahanin Dadagdag mo pa yung nakaraan at dadagdag mo yung kinabukasan sa kasalukuyan na pasanin, alalahanin sa buhay. Kaya nakaka-overwhelm. Nakakapagod. Ecclesiastes 7:14 reads, when times are good, be happy. But when times are bad, consider this, God has made the one as well as the other. Ang ganda ng pagkasulat. Pag panahon ng kasaganan, ay salamat Panginoon. Be happy, be grateful to God, be thankful to God. Kasi sa panahon ng kahirapan, isipin mo na lang, parehong ginawa ng Lord yan. Masama man o mabuti, Diyos lang ang nakakaalam. Ang ganda-ganda ng konsepto po na idea na kaya in everything give thanks Sa araw-araw magpapasalamat tayo dahil kaparaanan, nilikha ito ng Panginoon. Bahagi ito sa pagkagawa ng Panginoon, both the good and the bad. Robert Schuller, an American pastor, wrote, press on. Obstacles are seldom the same size tomorrow as they are today. Sige lang. Go on. Move on. In your life. Author Leo Boscaglia tells this story about his mother and their misery dinner. It was the night after his father came home and said it looked as if he would have to go into bankruptcy because his partner had run away with the firm's funds. Tinakbukan ng kapartner. Di mabankrupt. So anong gagawin? Di malungkot ang tatay. His mother, nanay ni Leo, went out and sold some jewelry to buy food for a sumptuous feast. Other members of the family scolded her para bakit mapaginastos yung jewelry? Bakit naghanda ka pa? Mahirap na nga buhay, magiging mahirap nga buhay natin. Magsasadsad nga tayo. Bakit naghanda ka pa na marami? But she told them, sabi niya, that the time for joy is now, when we need it most, not next week. Her courageous act rallied the family. Galing nung nanay. Yung tatay lungkot, syempre, business, bankrupt. Pero yung nanay, idea nung nanay na, sige lang, tuloy lang. Oh, panahon ngayon para magsaya. Hindi yung next time. Hindi yung pagka marami na ulit pera, saka tayo magsaya. Ngayon, malungkot tayo. Dahil kaproblema tayo sa ating buhay eh. Saka na tayo magpapakasaya. So, focus on what you can change. Live on the present moment. But letter F, the sixth, think differently. Francis Fitzgerald, an American novelist, wrote, "Genius is the ability to put into effect what is in your mind. There's no other definition of it." Ang isang henyo, kung ano man yung nasa isip niya, na isasagawa niya. Hindi lang nananatili sa utak na alam niya lahat dito. Hindi, put it into practice, kumbaga. Nagiging, practical. Na minsan tayo, marami tayong alam dito, pero walang practicality sa buhay. Walang kagaya. Kaya sinasabi ni Simon Sinek kanina, bakit ka nasa industry? Bakit ka nagtatrabaho? Bakit ka nagtuturo kung teacher ka? Bakit ka nasa business? It is to help society, to be of service to people. And so, when you have that idea, magiging practical ang buhay mo at magiging masaya ka talaga eh. So, Ryan Holiday shared a story, more or less portion ng story ni Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was famous for what observers called his reality distortion field. Parang mahirap isamahin, reality distorted. Part motivational tactic, part sheer drive and ambition. This field made him notoriously dismissive of phrases such as, "It cannot be done," or "We need more time." Ayaw niya nun. Ayaw niya yung, "Hindi kaya yan." Kailangan pa ng panahon. Having learned early in life that reality was falsely hemmed in by rules and compromises that people have been taught as children, Jobs had a much more aggressive idea to what was or wasn't possible. To him, when you factored in vision and work ethic, much of life was malleable or flexible. May vision ka, tapos work ethic, tatabahuhin mo, flexible ang buhay, nakakagawa ng paraan. For instance, in the design stages for a new mouse of an early Apple product, Jobs had high expectations. He wanted it to move fluidly in any direction, a new development for any mouse at that time. But the lead engineer was told by one of his designers that this would be commercially impossible. What Jobs wanted wasn't realistic and wouldn't work. Yun ang ng designer. The next day, the lead engineer arrived at work to find that Steve Jobs had fired the designer who said that. When the replacement came in, ang unang words ng replacement, "I can build the mouse." This was Jobs' view of reality at work. Malleable, adamant, self-confident, not in a delusional sense, but for the purposes of accomplishing something. He knew that to aim low meant to accept mediocre accomplishment, but to aim high could, if things went right, create something extraordinary. Pag masyado mababang aim ang target, mediocrity. Pwede na yan. Pag mataas ang challenge, so at least umaangat ang kapasidad, umaangat yung opportunity, nagiging creative, nagiging extraordinary. For most of us, sulat ni Ryan, such confidence does not come easy. It's understandable. So many people in our lives have preached the need to be realistic or conservative or worse, to not rock the boat. This is an enormous disadvantage when it comes to trying big things, because though our doubts and self-doubts feel real, they have very little bearing on what is and isn't possible. Grabe yung pananaw. Grabe yung sinusulat nitong ni Ryan Holiday. No? Grabe yung pag nagduda tayo, pag hindi tayo, kanina sabi natin, huwag kang overthinking. Pero kailangan mag-isip ka naman ng kakaiba. No? Kakaiba. And when you think differently, hindi yung kung paano mag-isip ang ibang tao, no? Pwede na yan. That's the way it is being done eh. Di ba? Ganun palagi ginagawa. Kaya sige, sundin na lang natin. This is Steve Jobs, kakaiba eh. Kaya ang design ng Mac, ang design ng Apple, di ba? Laging kakaiba eh. Ryan Holiday, let me show this to you. Our perceptions determine to an increasingly large degree what we are and are not capable of. In many ways, they determine reality itself. When we believed in the obstacle more than in the goal, which will inevitably triumph. Kaya, perception eh. Anong pananaw? Anong perspective? Anong location? Napakahalaga. Yung bagay na yun, para makita mo yung tama. Minsan, nang nakikita natin yung obstacle rather than the goal. And when you look at the life of Christ, you will see how Jesus would think differently. Ang dami-dami situation sa buhay ni Kristo na grabe, mag-isip siya kakaiba. Itong gusto ng iba, itong ibang gagawin niya. Look at this example in John 7, from verse 2 to verse 5. Now the Jews' feast of booths was at hand. May fiesta sila. So his brothers said to him, "Live here and go to Judea, that your disciples also may see the works you are doing. For no one works in secret if he seeks to be known openly. If you do these things, show yourself to the world." Then sinulat ni John, for not even his brothers believe in him. Actually, kinukutya nila sa Jesus eh. Kung dapat ikalat mo sarili mo, punta ka sa piyesta doon, pakita mo yung ginagawa mo, bakit nagtatago ka, kumbaga. Anong sagot ni Jesus sa kanila? My time has not yet come, but your time is always here. The world cannot hate you, but it hates me because I testify about it that its works are evil. You go up to the feast. I am not going up to this feast, for my time has not yet fully come. After saying this, he remained in Galilee. Kayo pumunta, hindi ko pa panahon. Kayo. Sinasagot niya yung mga kapatid niya. Kasi mga kapatid niya mismo, hindi naniniwala sa kanya. Grabe, no? Si Jesus na yun, Yung siyempre, mga disciples na naniniwala. Yung mga kapatid niya, hindi exactly naniniwala. O later on na lang naniwala. Kaya si James, yung kinukote natin, siya yung later on na naging isa sa mga leaders ng early church. Pero kakaiba mag-isip si Jesus eh. Pero anong ginawa ni Jesus? Pagdating ng verse 10, but after his brothers had gone up to the feast, then he also went up, not publicly, but in private. Grabe, weird lang minsan si Lord. Dami-dami. The way he would deal with the Pharisees, the leaders, grabe yung kakaiba mag-isip si Jesus. Hindi sila pareha ng pananaw, kaya nga nagka-clash sila ng mga leaders eh. Kaya nga gustong-gusto si Jesus ng mga tao because gabi, the way he would deal with people, the way he would help people, the way he would speak, kakaiba, with authority, with power, and of course with compassion. He kakaiba si Jesus. So parang ganoon sa ating pagdeal ng obstacle sa ating buhay, kailangan medyo iba ng konti pag-iisip. Medyo maging creative. Medyo atake mo sa ibang paraan. Baka itong ibang solusyon na to mag-isip, no? That's what Steve Jobs is so famous for. No? Kaya ang kanyang mga gadget ang kakaiba. Kaya talagang he is just really so different. Henry Ford wrote, "Obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off your goal." Kaya fear would come. No, kapag ka, yun, related dun sa statement naman ni Ryan Holiday Young. Pag nawala ng focus natin sa goal sa buhay, obstacles will be frightening, nakakatakot. Solomon wrote, Proverbs 12:15, "The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man listens to advice." May balanse. No? Yes, you think differently. Yes, you make decisions on your own, you make choices in life, pero kinakailangan mo rin minsan makinig sa ibang tao. No? Kinakailangan din naman, no, tinitignan natin anong mga advices ang pwede mabigay ng tao. Kaya life is both live, merong personal at merong communal. Kaya hindi pa pwede mawala ang community. Na kahit na itong pandemic, social, physical distancing, mas magandang word, physical distancing, we can still socialize. We can still connect. No, we can still even to Zoom or whatever application that we can connect with people. No, we can still have a contact with people, probably not in face to face. No, kaya communal, kailangan there are decisions, yes, that we make on our own, tayo dinidecide natin yun, pero merong mga bagay kailangan natin ng advice, kailangan natin ng tulong ng ibang tao. No, yes, we think differently, but also sometimes we need to listen, to people. Kaya na-example ganun si Steve Jobs, 1 week before the first Macintosh computer was supposed to ship, the engineers told Jobs they couldn't make the deadline. On a hastily assembled conference hall, the engineers explained that they needed just 2 additional weeks work before it was ready. Jobs responded calmly, explaining to the engineers that if they could make it in 2 weeks, they could surely make it 1. There was no real difference in such short period of time. And more important, since they had come this far and done so much good, there was no way they would not ship on January 16, the original ship date. His insistence pushed them, once again, past what they ever thought possible. Kaya nagawa nila. Continuing, Ryan wrote, how do we usually deal with an impossible deadline handed down from someone above us? We complain. We get angry. We question. How could they? What's the point? Who do they think I am? We look for a way out and feel sorry for ourselves. Of course, none of these things affect the objective reality of that deadline. Not in the way that pushing forward can. Jobs refused to tolerate people who didn't believe in their own abilities to succeed, even if his demands were unfair, uncomfortable, or ambitious. Grabe yung pananaw ni Jobs sa kanyang mga tauhan. Ayaw niya na isipin ng mga tauhan niya, wala silang kakayanan magawa, matapos. Alam naman siguro na hindi naman siya, it's not a delusional thing. Alam niya pagka hindi talaga kaya. Pero pag alam niya pagkakaya, so, siguro, china-challenge, ini-stretch out niya yung kanyang mga tauhan para makaayos din sila sa buhay. The genius and wonder of his products, which often felt impossibly intuitive and futuristic, embody that trait. Diba? Kaya yung mga unang labas ng produkto niya, grabe, swabbing, of course, even up to now. He had pushed through what others thought were hard limitations, and as a result, he created something totally new. No one believed Apple could make the products it made. In fact, Jobs was pushed out in 1985 because the board members at that time felt that Apple's foray into consumer products was a lunatic plan. And of course, they were wrong. Gabi, no? Gabi yung pananaw ni Steve Jobs. He thinks differently. That's why he's Steve Jobs. And so, Ryan Holiday, continuing, let me show this to you. An entrepreneur is someone with faith in their ability to make something where there was nothing before. To them, the idea that no one has ever done this or that is a good thing. When given an unfair task, some rightly see it as a chance to test what they're made of, to give it all they've got, knowing full well how difficult it will be to win. They see it as an opportunity because it is often in that desperate, nothing-to-lose state that we are our most creative. Our best ideas come from there, where obstacles illuminate new options. Grabe. Grabe, ang ganda-ganda ng pagkasulat ni Ryan Holiday. No? Kaya, yung mga unfair tasks minsan na bibigay sa atin, doon lumalabas yung creativity, doon lumalabas yung galing, doon lumalabas na mapatunayan mo, ay, kaya naman pala. No? Lahat naman ng mga nakaimbento, yung una, akala hindi kayang gawin, pero nagawa. No? Di ba? Ganun naman eh. Marami tayong mga na kumbaga tinatamasa na mga inventions, na mga gadgets, nakapag-aang sa ating buhay, kasi nung una, tingin nila, akala nila imposible, pero nagawa. Obstacle, may hadlang para magawa yon, pero nagawa pa rin. Another video, very, very nice video I'd like to show you. The title of the video is Beating the Odds. Kumbaga, stories ito ng ilang mga bata pa lalo, that prove, anything is possible. Sa kanilang mga situations na dinaanan, you will see different, stories of young people who were able to get out, or they were able to beat the odds against them. Let's watch the video.
Daring to dream is how little Alyssa has gotten through life since her accident. Last May, she was hit by a truck. Her leg had to be amputated below the knee, but she didn't let the operation keep her off the stage. And less than a year into her new life, Alyssa delivered a showstopper at her dance studio's recital. She performed an original piece. And if you think just the dancing is brave, watch this. Alyssa removes her prosthetic and doesn't miss a beat. I asked her why she did it.
To show them that I was still me without it, and to be myself.
Lots of kids dream of being the next LeBron James or Kobe Bryant, but Julian Newman may just have a shot. Only 11 years old, he's playing guys 2 feet taller and 7 years older. And guess what? He's beating them.
They think that I'm not good, but when they see me, they see different.
This 5th grader is already the starting point guard on his high school's varsity basketball team. That's right, fresh from elementary school, Julian plays for the high school varsity team.
Right away, we knew he had a talent.
His dad, also his coach, helped put together Julian's highlight reel on YouTube. It's going viral with more than 2.5 million hits and counting.
Welcome to the Track and Field Championship.
When Charlotte Brown runs down her lane with her pink pole vault and leaps into the sky, you hold your breath. She's just 15 years old and she's learned to fly. But what's most amazing is she can't see.
I really can't make out a blur even. It really just blends in for me.
She can't see the track or the fancy color of her pole vault or the faces of the people in the stands. She's legally blind.
So you have no idea, what I really look like.
Right.
Doctors don't know why, but she started losing her sight when she was just 16 weeks old. Several surgeries later, none of it helped. She took to the pole vault like a champion. But how in the world does someone who's blind do so well at something that's challenging for anyone? This is what pole vaulting looks like to a sighted person, but this is what it looks like to Charlotte. She says it's like looking down the inside of a little black straw and seeing a blurry light at the end. So she has a system. Her coach lays artificial turf next to her lane. She can see the difference between light and dark, and it helps her run straight.
1, 2, 3.
She counts her steps and then goes for it. And now get this, she's not just any pole vaulter, she's the best her high school has ever seen.
We're back now with a California boy who is celebrating after setting a new world record, becoming actually the youngest person ever to swim from San Francisco to Alcatraz and back. That's about a little over 2 miles.
Yeah,
impressive.
Long distance, and he's only 9 years old. James Savage walked onto the beach and collapsed in his mother's arms after that grueling 2-hour trek. He battled conditions that were also pretty bad, windy and frigid. He says he even considered giving up.
I thought it was going to be easy at first, but then after I got out there, the tide was pushing me all around. I was about to quit, but then I kept on going.
You know, when he first announced he wanted to walk a mile in a race, the most he ever walked was 20 steps.
Watching sports with Dad was his first love, but running together quickly took over.
It's very difficult to have athletic events that you two can do together.
And for the past 6 years, they have. It started small with each race run by Dad, but finished by both.
We just had a person the other day say, you know, Johnny could be a professional athlete. And he said, no, I'm serious. He said he really could be.
A person like me being able to endure endurance races and stuff, but I think it's a tremendous lesson for me. It teaches me that anything is possible.
Who would have ever thought, you know, my son with cerebral palsy was going to be able to, you know, participate in an event of this magnitude.
In an ESPN E60 story from a few years ago, Johnny challenged himself to walk the final mile of a 5K and realized the true feeling of competition and completion on his own. That powerful day was the day his athletic dreams began to be realized.
You have the ability to do something special, and it's up to you to make that become a reality. That has really been my biggest inspiration and the biggest athlete that I look up to because of his determination to get me across that finish line.
The duo now faces its toughest test as they've been invited to run in the world's toughest race, the Kona Ironman World Championship Triathlon, which will test both Johnny and Jeff's limits in unfathomable ways.
If you think based on watching these images that 16-year-old Kate Foster is a talented gymnast, you'd be right. But that's not the whole picture. This is the whole picture. The Illinois teen is not only talented, she's extraordinary, able to defy gravity and stick picture-perfect dismounts with a prosthetic leg. Kate's love of tumbling began at age 7.
She loved it right from the beginning. The extra practices, the extra time at the gym.
I've never really found anything that I've loved more.
But then at age 12, the unthinkable. Kate was diagnosed with leukemia, and an infection that ravaged her leg forced her to choose between life and a limb.
They told me what was going on, and I said, you're not taking off my leg. I need that for gymnastics. And they were kind of explaining to me, you know, this bone marrow transplant won't work unless we do this. It's really your leg or your life.
Kate worried. Having only one leg meant her life as a gymnast was over, but her coach had other ideas.
After the amputation, my coach said something to me that really changed my mindset. She said that she had never coached a one-legged gymnast before, but she was willing to try if I was.
So they set off on an uncharted course. Today, Kate competes with her team, traveling throughout the nation in sanctioned gymnastics competitions.
Galing ng mga bata. Grabe yung pananaw ng mga bata. Isang, di ba, kung isa-isahin lang natin, isang dancer's dream, si Alisa. No? Kumbaga, yung prosthetics na tinanggal niya in the midst of that presentation, I did it, kaya daw niya tinanggal to show them that I was still me without it and to be myself. Look, grabe yung perspective ng bata sa buhay. Yung isa naman yung bata, yung 10-year-old na si Julian Newman, grabe, ang lalaki ng mga kinakalaban niya. Hindi siya natakot na, ang liit mo lang, oy. Oh, elementary ka pala, kagagraduate mo pala, pasok ka sa high school. Magaling eh. Oh, kaya ako ang player. Yung blind na pole vaulter, grabe. Para bang, kahit nga may mga mata eh, kahit nga nakakakita, hirap eh. Siya nagagawa niya. They beat the odds. the difficulties, the obstacles. Yung record breaker na bata na nilangoy ang San Francisco to Alcatraz at balikan, no? Grabe, youngest person to swim that stretch. Kaya at saka ang kondisyon hindi mahirap, frigid, malamig masyado, ang kondisyon nung windy, maalon, mahirap. Yung Ironman na sinalihan ng mag-ama. Yung di ba, yung may sakit na anak, determination ng pamilya. Grabe. And lastly, yung gymnast na merong prosthetic na leg. Anong sabi? The mindset. They change their mindset. They think differently. And that's why they're able to accomplish something. Kayo, ikaw. If write an amen, or write something in your life na ikaw ay nakita mo na say something. Ako rin dumaan dyan, ako rin meron ganito, ako rin meron akong time na nag-isip ng kakaiba at ito may nangyari kakaiba. That's why when we focus on what we can change, when we live in the present moment, and when we think differently, then we're able to get through the obstacles in life. But there's a last thing I'd like to share. Hindi lahat ito, meron na, hindi ko na sinama lahat, pero I just chose from the book, mga relevant sa ating pag-aaral. Lastly, finding the opportunity. Eric Hoffer, an American moral and social philosopher, wrote, "It still holds true that man is most uniquely human when he turns obstacles into opportunities." That's right. Ryan Holiday, again, wrote, "One of the most intimidating and shocking developments in modern warfare was the German Blitzkrieg, or Lightning War. In World War II, the Germans wanted to avoid the drawn-out trench fighting of previous wars. So they concentrated mobile divisions into rapid, narrow offensive forces that caught their enemies completely unprepared." Kaya suko kagad ang ibang mga bansa dahil blitzkrieg, mabilisan yung kalantangke, yung pag-atake ng German forces. So takot talagang iba, sumusurrender na lang kagad yung mga commander dahil alam nila, patay sila Kasi mabilisan. The blitzkrieg strategy, was designed to exploit the flinch of the enemy. He must collapse at the sight of what appears to be overwhelming force. Its success depends completely on this response. Yung bang dahil sa dami ng mabilisan, kaya takot na yung kalaban. Kaya suko na lang, kaysa mamatay pa silang lahat. And this is how the Allied opposition regarded the blitzkrieg for most of the war. They could see only its power and their own vulnerability to it. In the weeks and months after the successful invasion of Normandy by Allied forces, they faced it again, a set of massive German counter-offensives. How could they stop it? Would they throw them back to the very beaches they just purchased at such high cost? Dami na namatay sa kanila Yung sa Normandy, magaling ng Britain, tawid, sa Normandy, sa France, para tarang kumbaga very massive na attack kumbaga ginawa, pero may counter-offensive ang Germany. But there was a great leader who answered that question. Striding into the conference room at headquarters in Malta, General Dwight D. Eisenhower made an announcement. Sabi niya doon sa mga tao doon sa conference, he had no more of this quivering timidity from his deflated generals. At ito exactly sinabi niya. The present situation is to be regarded as opportunity for us and not disaster. There will only be cheerful faces at this conference table. Grabe yung general. Kailangan opportunity ito. Hindi itong disaster. Hindi ito hinaharap na naman natin blitzkrieg ng mga Germans. Hindi ito disaster. Opportunity ito. Kaya kung hindi rin kayo cheerfully ang face dito, hindi kayo kasama dito. In the surging counteroffensive, Eisenhower was able to see the tactical solution that had been in front of them the entire time. The Nazi strategy carried its own destruction within itself. Huh? Only then were the Allies able to see the opportunity inside the obstacle rather than simply the obstacle that threatened them. So basta nagawa ng parang nakita nila na yung galing ng mga Germans, yung atake nila yon, meron pala silang problema. Hindi sila kaagad makabalik yung mga tangke nila, kaya ang atake ng mga Allied forces sa gilid, sa likod, kaya wala, na ano sila, na overwhelm ang mga Germans. And no, the Allied forces won. Ryan Holiday wrote, "It's one thing to not be overwhelmed by obstacles or discouraged or upset by them. This is something that few are able to do. But after you have controlled your emotions and you can see objectively and stand steadily, the next step becomes possible, a mental flip. So you're looking not at the obstacle, but the opportunity within it." Ang obstacle, hindi siya disaster. Excuse me, obstacle, there's an opportunity within the obstacle. That's why Colossians chapter 4 verse 5, Paul wrote, "Be wise in the way you act toward outsiders. Make the most of every opportunity." No? Be wise. Make the most, no, of opportunity. Opportunity in the midst of disaster. Nakapaloob yan sa loob ng disaster. Laura Elizabeth Ingalls Wilder wrote, "There is good in everything if only we look for it." Kapag hinahanap mo ang masama, talaga masama makikita mo. Pag hinahanap mo mabuti, most likely mabuti makikita mo. No? Di ba? Ganun din sa tao eh. Pag hinahanap mo sa mga tao lahat ng mga mali nila, araw-araw, makikita mo palagi mali. Pero pagka persa mo yung sarili mo, hanapin mo the good in other people, the good in situation, most likely you will see the good. That's why it's the perceptions. Na yun ang problema natin. They tell us that things should be, in a certain way. Hindi naman pala ganoon. Pag mali ang perception natin sa sitwasyon natin, talagang magkakaproblema, magkakagulo-gulo po tayo. That's why, anong situation yun? Write a comment on what's happening in your life, a simple comment on somehow, anong dealing sa inyo ngayon, sa inyong situation na yun. Ryan Holiday gave some example. Sabi niya, having a bad boss, una, all we see is the hell. All we see is that thing bearing down on us. We flinch, but what if you regarded it as an opportunity instead of a disaster? Di ba? Yung boss na mean, yung boss na ang hirap pakisamahan. If you mean it when you say you're at the end of your rope and would rather quit, you actually have a unique chance to grow and improve yourself. Nang yung sitwasyon na yun. Kaya nga, pagka meron kang problema, may boss na hindi maayos, huwag ka kagad mag-quit, huwag ka kagad mag-resign. No? It's a unique opportunity to experiment with different options or solutions, to try different tactics or to take on new projects to add to your skill set. You can study this bad boss and learn from him while you fill out your resume and hit up contacts for a better job elsewhere. Pero huwag ka agad mag-quit. Sige na, pinaprepare resume mo, nag-iisip ka mag-resign. Pero matuto ka, baka there's still something you can learn. Natalakay natin yan at one time si Simon Sinek, ganyan na example eh. Yung bad boss mo, there's still something you can learn from him. You can prepare yourself for that job by trying new styles of communication or standing up for yourself or all with the perfect safety net for yourself. Later on, saka ka na magkikwit. Kaya nga, pagka may mga ganyan ang sinasuggest, many years ago, our former senior pastor, Butch Conde, I would always hear him say, huwag ka kagad mag-quit. Pagka may problema ka, lalo mong galingan. Galingan mo trabaho mo. Huwag mong sirain ang trabaho. Lalo mong pag-usayan. Lalo mong galingan. Then, saka ka mag-resign. Then, yung mapipil nila, kailangan ka pala nila. No? So, mindset. Tamang pananaw. No? Tamang pananaw sa iyong pagtatrabaho. Kasi, one day, sabi niya, ni Ryan, the boss will make a mistake. And then you will make your move and outmaneuver them. No? Dahil nag-isip ka nag-ayos ka huwag mo sila sisiraan. No? Don't speak bad about your boss. No? Don't put down your boss in front of other people. Sarilinin mo na lang. Or kung meron kang counselor, meron kang tao na gusto mong i-share lang ang situation mo sa iyong boss, pero huwag mo siraan ang boss mo sa ibang mga co-employees mo. Kasi, pag dumating ang panahon, ikaw rin hanggang boss, marami ka rin magiging pagkakamali along the way sa iyong buhay. No? Balik lang yan. Meron ding sisira sa iyo. Kaya kung ayaw mong gawin sa iyo later on in your life, what? No? Do your job well. Yun ang isang problema. Bawa, kung hindi ay isang boss mo, o kaya meron ka namang karibal sa trabaho. One that causes endless headaches. No? Anong reaction mo? Dahil itong karibal mo sa trabaho, o ito sinisiraan ka rin, o kung anong ginagawa, diba? O talagang kinukompete ka, talagang gusto niya maipakita na mas magaling siya kaysa sa'yo. So, anong pananaw mo? No? That will make you alert. That will raise the stakes. That will motivate you to prove them wrong later on pagka pinag-usayan mo. That will help you appreciate true friends. That will provide an instructive analogue, an example of whom you don't want to become. Di ba? Galing. So, again, reaction dun sa hindi ayos na tao. No? Marami ka matututukan. Doon, hindi lang doon sa mga tamang tao, marami ka rin matututukan doon sa mga maling tao kasi huwag mong gayahin. Pagka ang computer mo nag-glitch yung di ba? Ang hard drive mo, bigla na-erase lahat ng trabaho mo. Ibabato mo yung computer mo. So, find an opportunity in your situation and you will see somehow the hand of God will work in your life. No, kaya, ang daming pwedeng example na mangyari sa iyong buhay. Blessings and burdens are not mutually exclusive. Blessings and burdens go together. No? Actually, magkasama. Kaya nga, patawa nga, kumbaga, sabi ni Socrates by all means, marry, mag-asawa ka. If you get a good wife, you will become very happy. If you get a bad one, you will become a philosopher. Kasi si Socrates, ang buhay pala ni Socrates, he had a mean and nagging wife. He always said that being married to her was good practice for philosophy. Kaya kinikredit ni Socrates yung asawa niya for him becoming one of the great philosophers. No? Of course, parang nakakatawa, no? Pero, hindi, siyempre, hindi naman lahat perfect Tayo rin, siyempre tayo rin. Hindi naman perfect tayo sa ating spouse. But, we can overcome somehow itong obstacles along the way in our lives, make it an advantage. The obstacle is an advantage. Sports psychologists did a study of elite athletes who were struck with some adversity or serious injury. Initially, each reported feeling isolated, emotional disruption, and doubts about their athletic ability. Yet afterward, each reported gaining a desire to help others, additional perspective, and realization of their own strengths. In other words, every fear and doubt they felt during the injury turned into greater abilities in those exact areas. The struggle against an obstacle inevitably propels the fighter to a new level of functioning. The extent of the struggle determines the extent of the growth. The obstacle is an advantage, not adversity. The enemy is any perception that prevents us from seeing this. Ang kaaway mo, yung pagmaling perception na hindi mo makita ang obstacle as an advantage. Pag nakita mong obstacle as an adversity, hadlang, wall, talagang hindi tayo makaangat sa buhay. It's a beautiful idea. Ang mga psychologists would call it adversarial growth or post-traumatic growth. Di ba yung iba, post-traumatic syndrome? Na parang yung pagkataas ng traumatic na lalo pang bababa. Hindi, merong post-traumatic growth. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, very familiar na statement nito, sinulat niya, that which does not kill us makes us stronger. Ano ang concept niya? What does it mean? Hinanap ko po sa Google. Ito yung concept po. This aphorism or a concise statement of a principle is meant to say that if you survive the attack or onslaught of some disease or disaster, the very fact that you have survived indicates that you are superior to it and therefore stronger than you were before. Kita nyo? Yung what does not kill you makes you stronger. Lalo kang magiging mas malakas kaysa sa una. Kaya yun yung mga atletang maayos Yung mga atleta na nakabangon, na mga sobrang, 1 year na nabalda, pero tama ang attitude nila, pagbalik nila, mas malakas, minsan mas magaling pa. Yung iba, na hindi lang physical ang problema mental, psychological, emotional Pag hindi nila nalampasan yon, hindi na sila makabawi. J. Sidlow Baxter wrote, what is the difference between an obstacle and an opportunity? Our attitude toward it. Every opportunity has a difficulty, and every difficulty has an opportunity. Let's watch the last video. This is a video of Derek Coleman. May hearing impaired na problem siya, pero sumulat siya ng kanyang memoir. Ang title ay No Excuses. Let's watch the video and partly interview ni Derek Coleman na naging player siya ng National Football League. Let's watch.
Now to a truly inspirational story. Derek Coleman of the Seattle Seahawks is one of the very few hearing impaired players to make it to the NFL. He has a brand new book out. It's wonderful. It's called No Excuses, Growing Up Deaf and Achieving My Super Bowl Dreams. It is out today. My good friend Deborah Roberts spent some time with him. He is an exceptional young man.
Robin, he is somebody who does the NFL proud. Though he can't hear the calls on the field or the crowds cheering him on, Derek Coleman doesn't miss a thing on the field or off.
Caught and taken into the end zone by Derek Coleman.
24-year-old Derek Coleman is living his dream, a fullback for the Seattle Seahawks and a Super Bowl champ.
Why was the NFL such a destination for you?
It wasn't so much of the NFL. It was more of proving everybody wrong.
Few would have expected Coleman to wind up here. Deaf since childhood, he's only the third hearing-impaired player to reach the NFL.
At what point did you realize you were different?
Honestly, I never truly realized that I'm different. I just accepted who I am.
But some of the kids did treat you differently. You were bullied a little bit.
I remember one incident when I think it was like 5 girls came and they attacked him. They ended up losing his hearing aids. I went and knocked on some doors that day and, to make sure that the bullying kind of stopped.
But Derek's childhood was mostly a happy one, thanks to strong, determined parents who refused to let him be victimized or to make excuses.
She looked at me in the eye and was like, don't you let people do that to you? Why are you going to let somebody else mess up how you feel about yourself?
Derek learned to read lips and blossomed as a student and a standout athlete, gaining confidence.
This is Coleman. Coleman's got a gap. He's in.
He won a football scholarship to UCLA and began dreaming an improbable dream, joining the NFL. He wasn't drafted, but was soon spotted by Coach Pete Carroll, who thought the talented fullback was perfect for the Seahawks.
He has taken it head on. He has done nothing but to bring it to light that you can do whatever you want to do, and he's been a marvelous example.
Did you feel like you had a disability when you were growing up?
It wasn't really until I got to junior in high school when I started realizing that it's not really a disability, it's an advantage.
Advantage? How?
I can turn people on and off whenever I want.
Derek Coleman.
They told me it couldn't be done.
Despite his talent on the field, it wasn't football that won Derek national acclaim. It was a little commercial he made for Duracell. 22 million views. Can you believe that this thing went viral?
No.
What was it, do you think?
Everybody in the world got problems. They saw that somebody that had problems similar to them, probably worse than them, did whatever he possibly could to still get his dream. But I've been deaf since I was 3, so I didn't listen.
It's a message that resonates. I get the impression that reaching out to kids is really important to you.
I want them all to know that, 1, you're not alone, and 2, if you just stick together hand by hand, we can do anything.
An amazing guy, and he's been known to show up at schools and surprise kids who can use a little inspiration. On the field, though, it is serious business. The Seahawks quarterback, Russell Wilson, knows he's got to lock eyes with Derek and communicate each crucial play so that he doesn't miss a thing. And it's teamwork, Robin, that pays off. Obviously, they won a Super Bowl, made it back to the Super Bowl this year, didn't make it. Just close. But he's such a great guy, and he's all about no excuses. When he signs an autograph, no excuses.
And he has a great sense of humor, too. He said he can turn it on and turn it off with somebody. But you asked him if he ever fantasized about not being hearing impaired.
And he said he would not trade it for anything because he has to work harder, he has to communicate more, and in some ways he probably achieves more than most of us because he's got to keep his eye on the prize at all times.
And once again, no excuses.
You got it.
All right, Deb, thank you.
Grabe ang interview sa kanya, grabe mga sagot niya. It wasn't so much about the NFL, it was more of proving everybody wrong. Naman yung tinanong siya, anong effect sa'yo yung mo? Para patunayan sa kanila na kaya hindi lang nakapasok ako ng NFL, very prestigious na sports ito, kundi patunayan sa kanila na kahit may kapansanan ka, pwede ka magtagumpay. I never truly realized that I'm different. I just accepted who I am. Thanks to strong, determined parents who refuse to let him be victimized or to make excuses. Yun ang sabi ng report eh. Ang sabi ng nanay niya, why are you gonna let somebody else mess up how you feel about yourself? Bakit haya mo ibang tao sirain ang iyong pananaw sa iyong buhay? It is not really a disability, sabi niya, but an advantage. Everybody in the world got problem. They thought that somebody that had problems similar to them, probably worse than them, and did whatever possibly he could to get a dream. But I have been deaf since I was 3, so I don't listen. Reaching out to kids is really important to him. I want them all to know that 1, you are not alone, and 2, if you just stick together hand by hand, we can do anything. Yun yung sasabi ko kanina eh. Meron tayong sariling ng lakbayin, na choices, na hamon, na obstacle, na kailangan natin daanan on our own, but we need other people to help us as well. May mga obstacles na kasama natin sila. No excuses sa kanya. He would not trade being hearing impaired for anything because he has to work harder, he has to communicate more, and in some ways, he probably achieves more than most of us because he got to keep his eye on the prize at all times. So yun obstacle or opportunity is in the obstacle. There's an opportunity in there. Opportunity is an advantage, not a disadvantage. Obstacles are opportunity to succeed in life. Kaya dahil mas lalo kang lalo kang magtatrabaho, lalo kang magtsatsaga dahil mas mahirap kaysa yung madali lahat. Kaya nga, di ba? Yung nga sasabi ni Booker T. Washington, walang saysay ang success kung walang obstacle. And finally, Maxwell Maltz says, American cosmetic surgeon and author, we are built to conquer environment, solve problems, achieve goals, and we find the real satisfaction or happiness in life without obstacles to conquer and goals to achieve. That's perception. Overcoming mga strategies na kinakailangan natin para matama ang ating perception sa mga obstacles na nangyari sa ating buhay, sa mga dinadaanan natin. Remember, it's an opportunity. Don't look at it as a disadvantage. Don't look at it simply as a wall. It's an opportunity to triumph, an opportunity to go beyond, beyond our capacity. Na kaya pala, meron pa palang ilalabas. Meron pa pala tayong ibubuga. Hindi lang yung naging mediocre lang po tayo. Sana po matutuhan natin yan sa ating buhay. Itong obstacle na ating dinadaanan in our life. That's why you can write it down. Write to us yung obstacle na inyong dinaanan and share us how you were helped. Paano nyo natagumpayanan? O paano kayo nagtatagumpay sa kasalukuyan na pandemic na ating dinadaanan. We wanted to learn from each other. We wanted to hear from you. So write, share with us your experiences in life so that we can share it with others. So ma-encourage tayo na yung iba, marami, bigat ng dinaanan, pero nagtagumpay sila. And with the help of God, with praying for one another, and with the support na pwede natin makuha in the midst ng pandemic na ito, pwede mo tayo magtagumpay sa buhay. Manalangin tayo. Napakabuti mo, Panginoon. Salamat sa mensaheng pinararating mo sa amin. Matama ang aming pananaw sa buhay, sa mga obstacles, sa mga pagsubok na aming dinadaanan. Maraming salamat, O Lord, na tunay ang katapatan mo sa amin. Tunay, O Lord God, na ang lahat ng ito ay bahagi, kalakip lahat ng ito, O Lord, both the good and the bad that happens in our lives, O Lord God, they were all orchestrated by you. Salamat, Panginoon, sa iyong plano, sa iyong purpose, at proseso na ginagawa mo upang maging matibay kami sa aming lakbayin, sa aming buhay. Salamat, O Lord God, na magpapadala ka ng mga tao na makatuwang namin, makasama namin sa aming sitwasyon. Salamat, Panginoon, sa mga wisdom na aming magigain, O Lord God, sa paano magtagumpayanan ang mga sitwasyon na aming hinaharap. Lord, maraming problema. Marami sa amin, Lord, iba na nawalan ng trabaho. Marami sa amin, Lord God, na naghihikaos sa kasalukuyan. Lord, tulungan mo po sila. Panginoon, makita po nila ang ibang kaparaanan na pwede mo pong gawin at magawa sa kanilang buhay sa panahon na ito. Ang ibang mga negosyante, nahihirapan. Ang ibang, Panginoon, nawalan ng trabaho. Ang iba naghihikahos, o Lord, ang iba hindi makapag-aral, o Lord God. Lord, tulungan mo naman po bawat isa. O Lord God, bigyan, o Lord God, ng tamang pananaw sa sitwasyon na to at makita, o Lord God, may solusyon sa mga problema sa aming buhay. At salamat, Panginoon, katuwang ka namin. Salamat, Panginoon, nagagabayan mo po kami. Panginoon, ang mga desisyon na dapat namin gawin, o Lord God, hayaan, o Lord God, na makita ko namin ang lahat ng ito ng Lord, ng iyong kamay, ng gabay, o Lord God. That hindi rin kami magpanik, hindi kami mapraning, Panginoon, hindi kami, o Lord God, maparanoid sa lahat ng naming dinadaanan. Huwag ho namin sobrang pag-isipan, o Lord God, kung ano ang mali o bakit nangyari, mga bagay nito. May mga questions, o Lord God, na wala kang kasagutan sa panahon na ito. Na makita maituon, o Lord God, ang aming puso, ang aming pag-iisip, na andyan ka po sa aming buhay. Salamat, O Lord God, pagtitiwalaan ka namin that we will not live simply by explanation, but we will live by faith. Salamat na ang gabay mo po ay magpapatuloy sa aming buhay. Muli, O Diyos, nagagala kami sa panahon na ito, na muli nakapakinig kami, at salamat sa opportunity to give our tithes, our love offerings. O Lord, salamat na Panginoon, susustain mo yung iglesia, sinusustain mo ang bawat isa. Bibigyan mo kami ng pagkakataon, makashare, makapagbigay, O Lord God, ng nararapat, O Lord God. At Lord God, ayon sa katapatan mo sa aming buhay. Muli, O Lord God, hinahabilin ng bawat isa. Patnubayan mo po kami sa week na ito. Nawa, O Lord God, makita namin ang iyong kamay sa mga nangyayari at mangyayari sa aming buhay sa linggong ito. Salamat. Hinahabilin ng bawat isa sa iyong kamay sa ngalan ni Jesus. Amen at amen. Once again, we want you to respond, to make a comment, and follow and like us in our Facebook page. Share niyo po itong broadcast na to. Kung nakatulong sa inyo ito, ay share niyo po sa ibang tao. Ang ating streaming po naman, matuloy-tuloy po naman ito. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Bread of Life, GenSan, and hopefully na magkakatulong-tulungan po tayo sa ating pong buhay. Please write, comment, share what good things the Lord had done in your life to bless everyone. Good day, maayong adlaw sa kaninyong tanan. Salamat po sa inyong pakikinig sa ating broadcast ngayon.